Hi guys, and I am back with a video from the Moskova. This is the T-10 Soviet cruiser, and it is pretty powerful, to be honest. Yeah, so it was a ship that was designed to destroy light enemy cruisers. These are your main targets, and it can also be quite effective against heavy cruisers as well. It's definitely a good ship all round. Many say it is a glass cannon. It does not have very strong armour. But if you stay angled, you are able to bounce most shells. In fact, I had an interesting game a couple of weeks ago. I was in a Yamato with about a 60-degree angled Moskova, so it wasn't that angled, but it was angled enough. And I was about to shoot him, and my shells at relatively close distance, I think it was under 10 kilometers, and about every single one of them bounced. Now, the performance of this ship is quite interesting, quite different to all the other T-10 cruisers. It's got very, very good AP. It has got the fastest velocity shells, and also, combined with that, super heavy shells. So this means that your AP is your primary option for shooting anything that is even remotely broadside. Even shooting into the superstructures of many boats will be hugely effective. And this means you can also citadel quite easily battleships below 10 kilometers. So bear that in mind. When you see a battleship, switch over to AP and fire away. Also to bear in mind, it is got pretty decent HE. The HE has quite a high fire chance, and it means you can start a lot of fires. However, to counteract all these strengths, it does have some pretty significant weaknesses, mainly being the weak armor, secondly being quite terrible AA defense. You're going to have to rely on other boats, so hang around your USN battleships and cruisers, because those are the ones who are going to give you all that support. If you are caught off by yourself, don't expect to come off too well going against any T-10 or even T-9 airborne attacks. Another issue you may have is that it turns like a truck. It has a terrible turning circle at 760 meters. The rudder shift time is pretty slow at 10.9 seconds, which is manageable, but it handles more like a battleship rather than a cruiser. So bear this in mind when you are planning where to go, making sure that you have enough space to turn, and if you do find yourself in a bad position, do brace yourself for a lot of attack, because it's going to take you quite a while to get out of the bad situation. Moving on from that, it does have a very large HP pool, but the lack of armor does make this sort of a red herring, so to speak. And I think the last thing I would like to say is that your turrets do break quite easily. This is because the turret does have relatively thin armor for turrets. This means that your turrets will go out of action quite quickly. So make sure you take the preventative maintenance skill to prevent that from happening so much. Anyway, that's my quick introduction of the pros and cons of the Moskova. Now let's get into the gameplay. He's looking to get some good hits. He's firing his AP. He's knowing exactly how to use it. And he's putting himself in a much better position. But this does leave him open to the Zhao. And the Zhao is a scary ship from all levels. But as you can see, he's not being focused on by too many boats. Just the one boat, which isn't too bad. And it does seem it is not that Donskoy. It's probably the Zhao over in the sea cap. And there we go, a nice citadel. Now once the Donskoy gives this big angle, this is where the Moskova can really shine. Another nice citadel there. He's getting a lot of damage in this guy. This guy really did not play well. Turning around takes a long time because the Russian ships do not turn nicely. But once he does turn around, he should be able to angle a little bit better and not take so much damage. And as you can see, 3 bouncers and 2 overpens. MrRobin is staying back, which is probably the wisest thing to do. And what has this Donskoy done? He's gone right round again, and this is probably the kill shot. I'd be surprised if it wasn't. And it wasn't. That was surprising. Hopefully the Bismarck can finish him off. There we go, he's gone. Now the Azumo's coming into play. He's wisely moving back. He's still got, well, he had the AP loaded and he switched over to HE. And the Moskova can be a pretty decent fire starter. 512 damage. I'm not sure where the other shells went. Obviously they all missed. You can see that there was a fire on the latter side of the ship. And he sets it again. And obviously he used his damage control party, which put out the fire instantly. But again, straight away, another fire. More or less every salvo gives a half decent fire. MrRobin isn't in a bad position here. He is pretty badly angled against the Zhao, but the Zhao has bigger problems to deal with. And there we go. As I mentioned earlier, the main turrets do get knocked out quite quickly and quite often. This can be very frustrating because he had to use his damage control party in order to prevent that from happening. And this means that he's unable to put out this fire, which isn't the worst thing in the world, seeing as fire damage can be repaired by the heal. There we go, a nice broadside from the Zhao as he takes a nice big angle. Is he going to get a few citadels? No, most of his shells miss. That is slightly frustrating. At the moment, MrRobin is tanking a lot of damage. Not always most ideal, and now he's moving out of the cover of this island, and all those ships over at A cap can easily take him out. And it looks like MrRobin is moving around. He's trying to angle and trying to move his ship somewhat to try and throw off all the ships. He looks like he's pretty paranoid about all the ships over at A. But it seems as if there's still only 2 guys aiming at him. And there we go. Takes out the Zhao, which is brilliant. He seems quite paranoid over there towards A, as he keeps looking over there quite aggressively, which is always a good thing to do. It proves that he's not tunnel visioning. But now he can freely take on this Azumo. The Azumo is definitely outnumbered. There's 4 ships over on this flank, and it looks like the Azumo is firing at some of the other ships, probably at the Neptune, seeing as that would be the most juicy target. The Azumo is nearly dead. It's unlikely that Azumo is going to be able to take on 4 ships. Hopefully, MrRobin can take this kill. No, it looks like he's going to miss out. Never mind. Right, so, undetected. He's in a safe position, not necessarily a good position. And he pops his heel once again. The Moskova heel is just a standard heel. It's nothing like the British cruiser heels, which heal a lot of damage very quickly. Aha, another pretty broadside Donskoy, which should prove a pretty nice target. However, it is moving around towards his bow, pointing towards MrRobin, which does make it a lot harder for him to attack. Now, if this was me here, I would be reversing a little bit and slowing down, and maybe hoping to find some bigger guys to shield myself from. I'd like to have a meat shield, maybe from the Bismarck and the Iowa, which are hiding in C cap, despite the fact there are no boats over there. It'd be good if they could move over. And here we go. It looks like the Donskoy is moving to give it a nice broadside, which is very nice of him. Let's see how he does here. And shells away. Ah, unlucky. A little bit too high. He would have done alright if those had hit. And he pops his radar because the radar's been popped against him as well, and 4 guys are focusing on him. But only 1 guy is able to shoot him. Hopefully these shells will hit much better. Get straight into the citadel. Yes, 1 citadel. Not too bad, and some pretty decent hits going on there. He's already nearly at 100,000 damage, and this shows you how quickly you can rack up damage thanks to your very high DPM. Now, we see a Hipper coming around the corner, giving a beautiful broadside. This is not wise. This is going to end badly for the Hipper. And let's see what he does. And here we go. Wait for the perfect opportunity and go. Oh, very unlucky to get 6 overpens at the broadside. That is very unfair. But this should be better. Again, 7 overpens. How bad is the Hipper's armor? In the sense that, well, overpen, overpen, overpen. That is just cruel. Overpen. How many overpens are you going to get on that armor? Wow. This should be better. Now he's angling slightly better. Bounce, 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 bounce. That is very unfortunate. Either the Moskova's armor is so much better. No, armor. Either the Moskova's AP is so powerful that it just overpens cruisers, or the Hipper's armor is terrible, and I think it's probably the first one. We know that the Moskova has very high shell velocity. It is 985 meters per second, which is by far the highest on any of the T-10 cruisers. And there we go. There's the Donskoy taken out. But yeah, as I was saying, and also the shells are very heavy. This means it is very... You get a lot of penetration. Which means if something is so angled like that, it could explain all those overpens. Very unfortunate. That should have easily have been a one-shot kill. It should have been straight in there and citadeled him to death. That Hippo was very lucky to survive for that long. This game is seeming to be ending quite soon. There are only 3 battleships left versus a lot of allies on MrRobin's team. Now, he's being focused. This could be pretty bad for him. Luckily, he tanked a lot of damage there. Now, he's in quite a dangerous position here. Firing the AP, and let's see what he gets. 4,000 damage. Luckily, he's reloaded so much faster. Hopefully, MrRobin can angle himself a bit more and not die quickly. The Kerfuff's gun should be able to penetrate the front of his bow, but he's not facing directly face-on forwards. He's only able to get 4,000 damage and 5,000 damage again, and he's nearly dead. He needs to survive this. Come on, is he going to get the kill here? 10,000, he gets the Confederate, and the last couple of salvos should take him out. Is he going to get this kill? This guy is taking a lot of fire, and yes, he does. That was a quite intense battle. You shouldn't really get in so close. Not that he got in close, but they got in close with him. MrRobin has placed himself in a pretty decent position the whole time. He always made sure there was cover. He made sure that he wasn't going around into the open. Made sure he wasn't doing anything too crazy. Never overextend. And again, pretty lucky there not to get any more damage. The North Carolina is not looking at MrRobin. He's just going behind the islands, just about keeping his front turrets able to shoot out just around the island, which is a clever tactic to do. Will these shuttles get round? Yes, 3 of them will. He's able to do 1,900 damage. When you are a very squishy boat or you have very low health, it's always the best idea to play much safer. Don't go YOLOing in because you'll be killed straight away. Yamato is coming up just behind him, and the Bismarck has to deal with him. That's a tough job. Hopefully the Bismarck has a lot more health than the Yamato. Shooting over the IOO was quite a risky thing to do. The Moskva does have pretty decent rail guns. They fire very low arcs. And there we go, secures that kill, 188,000 damage, which he managed to do on a very low health. Now, of course, the Moskva does not have torpedoes. This is where torpedoes have become very useful. And he's going to run around the other side of the island, and wow, there you go. Brilliant example of citadels. Anyway, I'll see you in the results. Yes, as you can see, that was a pretty decent game. That last salvo really destroyed the Yamato. He got 2 citadels relatively far forwards on his bow on the Yamato. So that shows you where to aim. If you are in a Moskova, you can do a lot of damage to heavily armoured ships like the Yamato. Anyway, taking a look at the results, we can see that he got 6,100 XP. And of course he got a Dreadnought because he tanked a lot of damage there. High Caliber, Kraken, and obviously Confederate. 208,000 damage and 6 Citadels. Moving on to the team score, you can see that he played much better than everyone on his team. 2,400 XP, 800 more than the next guy below him. And the detailed report, not bad at all. He received more than 100,000 damage. So he received as more than what a Yamato has at full health. That is a lot of tanking. And credits and XP, you got 161,000 credits. Pretty decent if you ask me. Anyway, thanks for watching this video. I hope this helped you learn a bit more about the Moskova and how to play it well. Angling and making sure you're not overextended. Just before I leave, MrRobin did leave a short description for us, and I'm going to quickly read this out to you. I think it's very useful. He says, playing any cruiser on mountain range map is usually quite frustrating owing to the lack of cover on the 2 central capture points. Range is certainly an advantage, but getting close with BBs in high tier cruisers can be devastating to BBs, as they often underestimate their DPM and the neglect of any sort of angling. This replay shows exactly what can be done against such players who don't recognise the threat that you pose in a fairly mobile platform with quickly reloading guns. It also shows how tanky the Moskva is when properly angled against the opponent with higher caliber shells. I think that's a great summary, and thank you for leaving that description. It's really rather helpful. Thanks for watching. Please rate and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys later.